welcome to this 10-minute stretching class. So this class can be done on its own as just kind of a little movement break during your day, or you could use it as a cool down after exercise as well. In terms of equipment, you will need a strap or something similar, so maybe a belt, and you might want to use some blocks or perhaps a stack of books. This is optional, but just whatever you've got to hand. So we're going to start in a comfortable seated position. This could be cross-legged, kneeling, maybe sitting on a stool, whichever feels comfortable for you. And we're just going to start by bringing our arms up above our head and stretching up to the sky. So kind of imagining someone is pulling your fingertips whilst keeping your hips nice and grounded to the mat, the floor, or your seat. And then releasing the arms down. And we'll just do this twice more. So reaching up towards the sky, perhaps doing this on an inhale, and then as you exhale, lowering the hands back down. And one more here, reaching up towards the sky and lowering the arms back down. We're going to plant the right hand to the mat and extend the left hand up above. If you are on a stool or a chair, you can grab the stool with your right hand if this feels good. And we're just going to reach over towards the right hand side, feeling that stretch along the left side of the body, working to keep the chest open, so try not to drop forward. We want to create this nice stretch along the side of the body. And come up through centre, place the left hand down to the mat, the floor, or grab onto your chair, and bring the right hand up and overhead, keeping the arm nice and straight, feeling the activation in your fingertips and stretching out through the right side body here. And slowly rising back up through centre. We're going to do a couple of twists. So bring your right hand behind the back or to the back of your chair. Take your left hand across to your right thigh, so you're crossing the body here. Then we're going to use some gentle pressure between the hand and the thigh to just rotate the body towards the right hand side, opening up the chest, feeling this twist in the spine. It doesn't matter how deep you're getting into this twist, we're just creating that little bit of movement, that little bit of twist and stretch here. And then come back through centre and we'll repeat on the opposite side. So take your left hand behind your back, bring your right hand or wrist to the left thigh, the outer edge of the left thigh. Keeping a nice long straight spine so we're not leaning backwards here. Sitting up nice and tall, and then just rotating towards the back of the mat, so we've got our body towards the left hand side here. And maybe you want to bring your gaze over the back shoulder, or just keep the neck in a nice neutral position. And then release, come back to centre. We are going to grab our strap here and just work through some shoulder flossing. So take the strap nice and wide to start off with. We're going to bring the strap up above our heads and behind the back. And we'll take a few of these rotations here, making sure you've got space behind you and that you're not going to hit the plant. And keeping this sort of nice continuous movement. If you find that there are some spots that are maybe feeling a little bit tight, a little bit sticky, then you can always hold there. Pull the strap apart with your hands so you've got this kind of constant tension. You're not loosening or bending the elbows at any point here. Keeping this nice stretch. If this feels too easy, you can walk your hands in a little bit more, taking a shorter length of the strap. If it feels like too much, then you can always take a wider length of the strap or release the strap completely and just take some nice big circles with the arms. So whichever option you prefer today. We'll just do a couple more rotations here. Just waking up the shoulders, kind of stretching them out, particularly if you've been sat down at a desk or if you've just done a workout and need a little bit of a stretch. So we'll pop the strap off to one side now and we'll come onto our knees. We're going to take a toe squat here, so our toes are tucked under and we can sit back towards the heels. Don't worry if you're not sitting on the heels completely. You can always bring the weight of your body forward a little bit. This can feel quite intense, so don't worry if it feels like a little bit too much. You can always bring the weight forward and that'll immediately release some of that sort of tension in the feet or that sensation in the feet. So from here, we're just going to do a little bit of chest opening and some movement in the chest. So keeping the toes tucked, sitting up nice and straight if you can. We're going to bring our arms out to the sides, stretching the fingertips, palms facing forwards. This will be our inhale, and on our exhale, we're going to flip the palms, turning the thumbs down and bring the backs of the hands together. You can tuck your chin down to your chest if you like here. So as we inhale, opening up, lengthening, stretching everything out. And as we exhale, rotating the thumbs down, bringing the backs of the hands together. Inhaling to open up, exhaling to close in. Inhale to open, exhale to close. And then just shake out the hands, give the shoulders a little roll. You can come off of your toes, you might want to shake out the feet a little bit here. And we're going to come into a lunge position. So take your right leg forward. You can keep your back knee down if this feels comfortable, or if you prefer, you can lift your back knee off of the ground into more of an active lunge here. But we're just going to start with our hands inside our foot. So if we're reading from left to right, it goes left hand, right foot. We're going to take some circles into the hips. So any movements that feel good here. And take circles in the opposite direction too. So make sure you've got kind of both of those rotations. Feeling into the hips, holding in any tighter spots. And then we're just going to take a moment to find a bit of stillness and just to hold here. So we're working to drop the hips down, keeping that nice bend in the front knee, stretching into the hips. Perhaps you feel this into your left quad and iliopsoas running up the front of the leg here. Perhaps you don't, that's fine as well. So stretching into the hips here. And then we're going to start to shift the weight backwards. So we're moving our hips back. This is where your blocks might come in handy. So if you want to take your hands to blocks, then you can, or keep them down to the mat, whichever you prefer. As we bring the hips back, we're going to flex the toes and start to straighten the front leg. So it doesn't need to be super straight here. You can still keep a bend in the knee. We're just working to feel the stretch along the backs of the leg here. So moving between, so coming into our lunge and then stretching it out. And just doing this a few times, whatever pace feels good for you. Perhaps you want to hold in certain places, feeling into your body, stretching everything out here. And then the next time that you come to this sort of half split, this hamstring stretch, we're going to hold here. So we're working to try and create some length in the spine. So rather than kind of folding over here and rounding the spine, if you think about sort of lengthening, imagine someone's pulling up through the crown of the head, creating that nice length in the spine. And it doesn't matter if you're not kind of super folded over the legs. It also doesn't matter if your knee is bent, as long as you are feeling some sensation, some stretch into the hamstrings, the back of the leg here. And then bending the knee, you can move your props off to one side or keep them with you, whichever you prefer. And we're just going to switch legs. So stepping forward with the left foot. Again, you can choose to take this more active by having the back knee lifted or keep the back knee down. And we're going to take those circles to start with as well. So again, you can always bring your hands to the blocks or to books here. I find I'm a little bit more stable just bringing my hands down to the mat, but it's totally up to you. So circling into the hips, taking the circles in the opposite direction as well. Holding in any spots that need a little bit more attention, want to stretch out a little bit more. And then we'll find some stillness and just hold here. If you want to take this a bit further, you can always bring your forearms down to blocks or bring them all the way down to the mat. If this feels uncomfortable at any point, just come back up onto the hands. Maybe you're even kind of tenting the fingertips, or perhaps you come right up and have the block underneath you here, bringing your hands down to the block. Any variation that works for you. And then from here, we're going to start to shift the weight backwards. So leaning back, maybe bringing your hands to blocks. We're going to start to straighten out that front leg and then bending to the front knee back into our lunge. So starting to straighten out, feel that stretch in the hamstrings, bending in. And again, you can repeat this as much as you like, at whatever pace feels good for you, holding at any spots that need a little bit more stretch. And then the next time that you come to this half split position, stretching out the hamstrings, just hold here. And again, think about lengthening the spine. So you might find that by lengthening the spine, you need to bend your knee a little bit more if this feels like too much on the hamstrings. That's absolutely fine. I'm just taking some nice deep breaths in this stretch. Then we're going to bend back into the front knee once more. Bring our knees together, so we'll have our hips over our knees, and then start to walk the hands forward. We're going to come into a puppy pose. So this is going to stretch out the upper body. Take some nice deep breaths. Perhaps your forehead comes down towards the mat. Don't worry if it doesn't. And if you'd like to build in some side stretches here, you can just walk your hands over to the top right corner of the mat. Sink the chest down. And stretch out the left side body. And then walk your hands back through center, over to the left. Sink the chest, stretching out the right side of the body. Perhaps drawing the right hip back a little bit to really create that length, that space along the right seam. And then walk your hands back through center into that puppy pose. And you can slowly come back onto your heels, perhaps sitting in that toe squat for a little bit longer, or any position that feels comfortable for you. So cross-legged, sitting on a stool, anything you like. Take a big deep breath in and sigh out. Thanks for joining me for today's stretch.